Today I'm privileged to be joined in conversation by a federal coalition backbencher who frequently makes headlines for what I believe are all the right reasons. George Christensen is the member for Dawson, an electorate in northern Queensland. He is the eldest son of a third-generation cane farming family and has lived in Mackay his whole life. He has a degree in journalism and real-life experience as a small business owner, publishing 2 community newspapers. He is known as the most outspoken member of the Nationals, fearlessly critical of regressive Liberal policies like redefining marriage, the misnamed Safe Schools curriculum, halal certification, raiding superannuation, and taxing the climate. Most enjoyably for those of us thoroughly disillusioned by the self-serving careerism of most politicians, he is sceptical of so-called party discipline, the philosophy that politicians represent their party instead of their electorate and aren't entitled to dissenting opinions. Welcome, Mr. Christensen.
Thanks very much, David.
Tell me about your foray into politics. How did you first get interested?
Well, before I was in federal parliament, I was a local government councillor, but it goes way back beyond that as well. I started getting interested in politics probably around the age of 15.
Wow.
And Paul Keating's to thank for that because, and probably my father too, and the words he used to say about Paul Keating, which I can't repeat on your program here.
I can relate.
You just knew that something wasn't right with politics in those days, and I joined to have a say. I joined the National Party at the age of 15 or 16, and continued on. I managed to become the state president of the Young Nationals. I worked for a period of time for a National Party Member of Parliament, Deanne Kelly, who's still a very good friend of mine. But I also left politics to get that real-world experience, as you said, okay. And on the way become a local government councillor for all of my sins. So why did I get into it? Ultimately, to make a change, and we if Christians and conservatives vacate the space and don't actually go into politics and stand up for the principles that they espouse, someone else is going to fill that void. Do we want that void filled with people who are going to be having views that are completely contrary to our own?
That's right.
And that has been a recurring view that I've had throughout all my political career. There is a reason that we must put our hand up and go in and do this service, and that is because, sadly, our political enemies will do it otherwise.
I completely agree, and quite often when I express some political familiarity, people wonder when I'm going to run, and what I advocate.
When are you going to? Because that was a great speech you gave earlier at the start.
What I advocate is everybody being involved in politics.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a full-time occupation to have a significant influence. In fact, people like you doing a great job speaking for people like me have no wind in your sails without masses of supporters behind you actually getting out. And it's a frustration with that everybody that's passionate about trees mobilises and organises and gets active on election day. Everybody that's passionate about penalty rates mobilises and organises, and they can find time one day a year to get active on election day. But people that are passionate about family and the sanctity of life and the traditional definition of marriage, we want to pray for it the day after and mow our lawns on the day.
People who should be concerned about the future of Western civilization, of Judeo-Christian culture, because ultimately that's what's at stake here. We are in a great period of time at the moment that will be recorded in the history books.
That's right.
And it will be either the make or break of our civilization. And, I don't know which way it goes, but you're right. All of these issues, which I suppose to individual people might be very important, but on this big issue of civilizational change, they are minuscule in comparison.
That's right.
And I think that you're right. I wish more people would look at that bigger picture and say that, we need to be in this fight or things are going to go badly, very, very badly for us all.
Yeah, and I don't devalue workers' rights or the environment, but there's perspective. If boys aren't boys and girls aren't girls, we now have 37 different genders and you can change whenever you want.
Sure.
And family is a take it or leave it benefit for society.
Sure.
I don't think any of those other things are the battles we should be fighting first.
This is straight out of the Marxian playbook, and in fact the people behind the Safe Schools program are avowed Marxists themselves. It's not just something that's emanated in Australia, this is worldwide. You deconstruct gender, you put in kids' heads that anything goes, basically, in terms of what you want to ascribe to yourself as your own gender, forget what nature has actually given you. You know, you're not assigned a gender at birth.
Yeah.
You have a gender at birth.
The doctor observes it.
It's an observation, not an assignment. But now apparently it doesn't matter about that observation. You know, you can observe to be something else, I guess, and assign yourself a different sort of gender. That's breaking down the biological roles that men and women play in society, therefore breaking down the concept of family. You break down the concept of family, you weaken family. The only person the only agency that can come in and fulfil that role then is government. Why do you think that this was part of the Marxian push, the Marxist push? Because they want to get rid of family. That was one of the key elements of the Communist Manifesto. Replace it with government.
And they've totally tipped their hand by preempting the social change that they're trying to implement gradually with homosexual marriage, by breaking down genders and sexuality, breaking down subsequently family, like you've said, then government replacing parents and creating this Marxist state. They've tipped their hand and showed that's exactly what they want to do by introducing this ideological indoctrination through the badly named Safe Schools program. They're literally trying to say, it's our job to teach your children values.
That's right. And I had a stand-up row with an ABC journalist on this, she's questioning me as to whether it was a parent's right to impart a belief system onto a child which, may be described as homophobic. Well, firstly, I like your definition around homophobic. If you're against gay marriage, does that make you homophobic? In a lot of people's eyes, it does. So, in other words, that journalist was arguing with me that it is not a parent's right to give their child or instill in their child a belief system that's based around the Orthodox Christian worldview as we know it.
Yeah. That's just crazy.
It is crazy. And again, where are we going to go with this? If people have got those ideas already, and you think about the Safe Schools program, so this is a program that government have obviously accepted. This is what is right, because we teach what's right in schools. So we put it through our state education program. So the teachers then imparting this viewpoint that there's gender fluidity, this idea of heteronormativity is wrong, that your parents are wrong when they say, teach you this Christian worldview that same-sex marriage isn't a good thing, and everything else that goes along with that. But what happens when little Johnny turns up to school and says to the teacher, "Oh, my mummy told me that homosexuality is a sin"? I can guarantee you where this is going to lead.
Yeah.
A knock on the door from the Department of Communities saying, "We're worried about what you are telling your children."
Yeah.
Now,
and this is what this journalist is saying to you,
exactly.
Is that ultimately she believes the government decides what ideas are right, what ideas are wrong,
That's right.
And the government must approve what parents teach children.
Coming from a government media outlet.
You're kidding me.
The circle's complete.
The government has to approve what I teach my children about life? isn't that the purest form of fascism there is?
That's right. And this is why we should be very, very worried. The Safe Schools program is probably the most concerning thing facing our nation. And you know, it might not be high up there on everyone's radar, but when you think about the implications that this could have,
that's right.
It is the most concerning thing.
It scares me that so many people are following the Pied Piper off the edge of the cliff. Like, if we decided to inject our kids with heroin and called it healthcare, just because you've given it a good name that's pretty and sounds positive, that doesn't mean you have to blindly approve of it. Like, have a look what's inside it. I'm going to put the link to your speech in Parliament about safe schools, which is 10 or 12 minutes of nugget-packed gold, at the bottom of this video, so people can watch that for themselves. We won't go into recovering that ground. It's very, very good. We've done an episode on it recently. Your speech covers it, and
so there's a speech that I didn't put up on the internet, and this is going to shock your readers. I gave a speech and I didn't put it on for possible defamatory action, but I know what I can say that will make sure that it's not defamatory. But the fellow who was the head of the institute that actually developed the Safe Schools program, and the institute it's the La Trobe University's Australian Research Centre for Sex, Health and Society. So the fellow who's the head of it, this is the group that developed the Safe Schools curriculum. Wrote in the 1980s in a gay journal about why intergenerational sex, which we'd otherwise know as pedophilia, should be considered normal. Why the love between a pedophile and a child was similar to that of the love between a parent and a child. I mean, this is mind-blowing. I mean, here is a program designed around sexuality and gender fluidity being taught in schools that's come out of an institute run by someone who actually advocated back in the 1980s for pedophilia to be considered normal. Can you not hear the alarm bells ringing?
And here's the problem is every advocate of homosexual marriage cannot condemn that man. If there is no absolute right and if there is no absolute wrong, if relativism, if trends and popularity are what define our moral compass, then who's to say he's wrong? Who's to say ancient Sparta, where intergenerational sex was common, was a wrong and immoral society? If it was right for them, was it right or wrong? But it's when conservatives who say, no, there is truth, there is right, there is wrong, and relativism is not the way we decide our society's direction, then we actually can say, no, that's wrong. And be consistent. And we can say, no, homosexuality is wrong. Do what you want in your private bedroom, not government's business. But you cannot bring it into the parliament and expect us to be silent about it. You've just made it public. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I do care what you do in my parliament.
You're right. There's got to be clear boundaries, and we've just got to be not afraid to say that out loud. And, the fact is that pedophilia is wrong. It's such a crime that it makes people's blood boil, makes my blood boil. And for someone to be out there advocating that, and then in a position where they're steering an institute which is setting up a curriculum in schools teaching kids about sexuality, very concerning, very concerning.